This is probably not what India's Chief Justice of the Supreme Court thought would happen when he said this about the nation's youth.
There are youngsters like cockroaches. They don't get any employment. They don't have any place in profession.
Or Abhijit Dipke, the student who responded on social media saying, what if all cockroaches come together? It would turn out to be a call to action for a disaffected generation struggling to find work. The Cockroach Janta Party's demands and the government's violent crackdown on its protests are no joke, but the movement is keeping humour firmly front and centre in its strategy. Listing being unemployed, lazy, chronically online and able to rant professionally as the only prerequisites to join.
Nigel Farage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Meanwhile, in Britain, right-wing Reform UK Party leader Nigel Farage's decision to resign and recontest his own seat of Clacton proved ripe for comedy.
Tell me how to let novelty guide. I said, I'm the same one this time.
With the main parties not contesting, satirist John Harvey, aka Count Binface, has emerged as a real contender.
What is your appeal going to be to the people of Clacton?
Well, I'm not Nigel Farage.
A recent Ipsos poll suggests 33% of Britons would prefer the bin win it, ahead of 21% for Mr Farage. Here at home, as the major parties contend with the rise of one nation,
Mrs. Hanson. Mrs. Hanson.
humour is also playing a part. Consistently the butt of jokes throughout her career,
I don't like anything. Please explain.
Pauline Hanson has reclaimed the ridicule.
Our Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is an absolute joke.
To brand her own cartoon series, one in which she plays the voice of reason, in a lampoon of what One Nation sees as the absurdities of Australian politics.
I might not agree with what you say.
Another joke finding enough dissatisfaction for a serious political outcome. And we spoke earlier to comedian and writer Dan Ilic, who says political satire is often a surprisingly effective way at getting a point across.
The great thing about jokes is that they're very economical in giving a message. We kind of have this theory in comedy called a fact bomb. When you pair something that's true with a joke, it explodes in the audience's brain in a way that, you know, a traditional news article or a traditional message doesn't. And the other thing it does is it provides catharsis. The laughter helps people drop their defensiveness around an issue. It allows people to process what's happening. And it kind of helps audiences go, oh, hang on, I'm not the crazy one. What's happening is the crazy thing. So that's a really important job of a comedian, is to remind people that, no, you're not crazy. The world is crazy.
Yeah, we've just seen some examples there of what's happening in India, the UK, here in Australia as well. When you look at some of the policies of, say, the Cockroach Janta Party or Count Binface in the UK, so Count Binface says that people who use speakerphones on public transport should be conscripted. That's one of his policies. Or he promises to cut your taxes but raise everyone else's. When you look at these sort of satirical candidates, does policy matter?
Yeah, I think you're forgetting, he wants to nationalise Adele and build one affordable house. I think that, and he also wants to make the corporate owners of people who run water utilities swim in the rivers that they're polluting. So, it's kind of, that is exactly what we're talking about. That is pairing a fact with a truth, and that makes people laugh and gets people thinking about what the absurdity of the real politics is happening. And it's happening all over. President Zelensky from Ukraine, he was a comedian. And now, he's President Zelensky, one of the great leaders of our time. The mayor of Reykjavik was once a comedian. And our Senator Al Franken in the United States was obviously notable for being on SNL. So, I think comedians do a really good job of telling a story in a very economical sense.
Do you think these days that political leaders and political powers are more wise to the power of comedy in politics and are using it to their own advantage?
Yeah, I think so. I think what we see, particularly with Pauline Hanson's One Nation, is that they've kind of gone around the traditional media and built their own media machine. And the cartoons that they create are, you know, a lot of people hate me for saying this. They're pretty funny, and they don't have to be on television to share them. And a lot of the cartoons, a lot of the jokes in their cartoons do pair, you know, truth with jokes. None of those jokes are about Pauline, by the way. They're about all the other politicians. And that's what we love as Australians. We love making fun of people that are in power. So if you can't beat the meme, you might as well join it. And I think that's a really smart way that Pauline Hanson has kind of operated in media. Yeah,
one example this week I noticed of sort of making fun of a moment. Of course, there was that clip of Barnaby Joyce yelling at a dog this week that went viral. I'm sure most people have seen it, where he yelled at the dog to sit down. There's now popped up this sit-down dog leash that's being sold online. So we are seeing parties perhaps have entire departments who are looking out for these moments to kind of flip them and use that humour to their advantage.
I don't even think it would be an entire department. I think it's just one person who thought that was a good idea, and because they got licensed to do it, you can quickly spin something up, take a bunch of pre-orders and actually make it. And I think that's great. I think all parties should do this, because Pauline Hanson's having the most fun in politics right now because she's the underdog. And I think other parties should also have more fun. I think they should come up with their own range of merchandise. Like Labor should bring out, I don't know, Labor flip-flops, which makes it very difficult to walk policy changes back. And I think the Liberals, I think they should bring out a whiteboard of Liberal values, because, you know, if you kind of, don't like the ones you've already got, you can just rub them out and start again. It's great. I think there's options to having a lot more fun with political parties.
Product placement there on the ABC. Thank you very much. What does this say, though, about the state of our politics and the serious state of our leaders, that the comedians and that the comedy is cutting through so much?
Well, I think I think politicians need to be a lot more funny. What are they doing? Get out there, do some gags. You know, be funny in your and engaging in your communications. It's not too hard to do. I have political clients in the independent world who use comedy, and, you know, we pair jokes with facts and really engage the local community in the ways a boring message won't do. So yeah, go for it. You know, use comedy, guys. Yeah. And there are a whole bunch of unemployed comedians out there. We can help you.
Okay, there's a shout out for you. What about the real influence, though, on election results, on polling day? Because there are real world impacts to these policies as well. Yeah,
well, I think. Oh, well, I don't know. I'm just a comedian. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Yeah, there are real world impacts, and I think people have to know who they're voting for and know what the result of those votes are going to occur. So you do need to know, you know, what the policies are of the people you are voting for. And I think probably some of these other candidates who are using satire, they might not be using it to promote their own policies, but using it to critique other people. So if you want to know what policies your candidate is voting for, you should just go to their website and read that. And that is largely a job that people don't do. We've got a large population, particularly in Australia, who tune out of politics and they don't engage in the real world policies. And I think satire and comedy is a way to get those across. And those who are doing it in a more fun, engaging way are going to sell those policies better. So, you know, far out, you know, if Labor or Liberal Party or the Coalition is worried about One Nation, you guys just need to be funnier.
There you go. Dan Ilic, a comedian there in the podcast bunker in the Southern Highlands. Thank you so much. I'm
actually not a comedian anymore. I'm actually running for the Senate this coming election. Get on board.
There's the election pitch right there. Dan, thank you so much. Have a good weekend.